So, my topic for moral panic is soccer hooligans or football hooligans. I'm going to be calling it football in this just because it's easier for me. So, football hooligans can occur anywhere, but it's mostly prominent in the UK. It's a nasty subculture of soccer or football. Some of the lesser acts can include spitting, name calling, and taunting, but this can lead to fistfights, which can eventually roll into fights with knives or baseball bats or rarely guns because they have a stricter gun control over there. But a large incident of this occurred in 2003 in Rome during the Hajduk Roma match when 900 Torcida fans threw signal flares at Roma fans, resulting in various injuries and clashes with the police. Another incident occurred in 2007 in Genoa when mass Tordesillas fans attacked the police with bricks, bottles, and stones. In the late 1950s and early 60s, the European press created a moral panic surrounding the actions of hooligans at football events. During the previous years engulfed by the world wars and media focusing too much of their coverage on the war efforts, leaving little press visibility for hooliganism. Post-World War II, the media escalated reports of hooliganism to the public. Acts of violence and physical aggression have accompanied the game since its modern emergence in the early 1800s, but post-World War II resembled the first occurrence of widespread media attention on the subject. The increased attention towards hooliganism led to reports at a proportionally higher rate, blowing hooliganism out of proportion to enlighten and scare the public on football violence. During the wars, the press described acts of hooliganism in individualistic terms. Rather than a collective group performing violent acts, singular hotheads carried out violence against the sport's code of ethics. After the war, the press depicted these actions as collective, performed by the entire firm rather than a singular person. This firm would be like a group of fans who had too much to drink or just the whole fan base in general. The media justified the public scare as a method to promote change within the sport and began using language to dehumanize participants as animalistic, barbaric, and lunatic. The rationale for coining these individuals as non-humans stemmed from their violent behavior. Also, England prepared to host the 1966 World Cup and wanted to clean up the sport in Europe before holding the world's most prestigious soccer tournament. International media outlets focused serious attention on the English crowds at matches instead of reporting on the game itself. The media advertised football stadiums as places containing more than the sport, but a location of regular violence and aggression. The panic intended to increase the legal aspects around hooliganism and cease the violence altogether. The media's goal of increasing attention to limit hooliganism ultimately failed. Instead, actions surged due to enforced panic. The coverage reinforced and glamorized hooligan behavior instead of making it more undesirable for firms. They made it more desirable for firms to act violently and gain national publicity. The amount of media attention pleased the hardcore fans regarded as dangerous. Their levels of violence must be extreme, leading to more status and legitimacy placed upon the firm and their participants. The media's panic also developed an ongoing cycle. Increased media attention led to raising crime, and increased crime led to an increase in policing and legal measures. Hooligans found new violent methods which dodged the recent legal enactments and ultimately gave the media more items to cover. The events continued and hooliganism never slowed, the opposite of the public's wishes when creating the panic. Something to mention within football hooligan subculture is that gender and masculinity exist together. The knowledge from gender cannot function without the understanding of masculinity and vice versa. The subculture's root in the blue-collar working class facilitate male dominance among its participants. The lower class socially accepts violence more frequently, and these individuals grow up viewing aggressive behavior in a more positive manner than individuals higher on the social ladder. Violent acts transform into normalized behavior, eventually reaching the public atmosphere as masculinity norms. Hardcore fans internalize the masculine trait of hardness by acting out in violent manners. Additionally, there is a tendency for males to enjoy fighting as an important source of meaning, status, and pleasure emotional arousal. As males compose the majority of hooligans, the probability of violent outbreaks increases when opposing hardcore fans come in contact with one another. These individuals desire to engage conflict with opposition, so they seek opportunities to release physical aggression upon others. The depiction of men as manlier after a fight, whether a win or loss, proves they have the capability to stand up against others and fight for the good of the firm. On the other hand, females tend not to engage in public expression of aggression due to its stigma. Other hooligans view females negatively when acting too violent or masculine, forced into roles of hardcore supporters without any violent tendencies. The subculture also demonstrates the tendencies to emasculate individuals, whether within the firm or towards their opponent. Top-tier lads regard the actions of chanting and singing in the stadium as soft. Hardcore hooligans leave singing and chanting for the softer fans who do not necessarily partake in the violent aspects of the subculture. Yet harder fans begin to sing and chant only when songs involve aggressive messages towards other firms. The lyrics convey violent threats and physical challenges, generating more violence and hatred between the firms. Also, symbolic demasculinization of opposing fans occurs, especially when in the stadium's terraces. Rivals refer to each other as poofs or wankers. A poof refers to a homosexual male, while wanker represents one performing while the male masturbatory act. These terms perpetuate the dominant male idea through the idea of name calling with stereotypes of homosexuality and anti-manliness.